Welcome to part 2 of 3. Have you ever thought to yourself, that's just a mustache? Think again. So Thunderbirds Are Now. First question, the name.
Terrible.
Where how did
Terrible name.
that come to be?
Again, Marty. Marty is the the name man.
The one responsible for Remington.
Yes, exactly. I think we had One Trip, One Noise was a thing, which is like also a weird band name. And somebody was like, how about Thunderbirds Are Go? You know, like, which is like a 70s, like, puppet show. You know, they're like astronauts or whatever. I didn't even really watch it.
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So like, if you've ever seen like the South Park guys, like that movie they did, whatever it's called, the not the South Park movie, but they did like another like Thunder Force or something. I think it's like the marionette, you know, puppet thing. But before that is inspired by this television show called Thunderbirds, and they would say Thunderbirds Are Go when they'd like get in their like spaceship or whatever. And so we thought that was cool, and then somebody was like, I don't think we can like legally be called that, you know? And so we were like, well, what can we change? What can we change it to? And someone's like, what if we just change one word? And so somebody was like, how about now? And so it just kind of, it's funny. Like at the time we had no aspirations. We were just like messing around, you know, at that point. Like, I don't remember if my brother who was in Red Shirt Brigade he must have been in the band. I don't know, but timeline is a little fuzzy. But anyway, like we just didn't take it seriously. And so the name also was not seriously taken. Like, I think we just thought this would be like something that lasted for a short period of time, and then we go on to do different stuff. But, you know, we started to pick up a little steam, and we never got around to changing the name. And people, like, I was always like, this is like, this is as worse as Hoobastank. Like these are like,
but it sounds really cool. Like,
see, to me, it's so cringe. But then other people have always said like, no, that's a really cool name.
Yeah.
And I've always just been like, it is.
And I literally, when I read it, I imagined those marionette things.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, why am I thinking of this? And it just never
Now
put it
you
together.
know, I've revealed our sources.
So it's kind of like Dinosaur Jr. They started out as Dinosaur, then
Right.
someone was like, well, that's our band name. They're like, okay, we're Dinosaur
Yep.
Jr.
Yep.
So just
Yeah.
one word
Yeah.
change, and
no one
took
like
off.
came after us. We like preemptively were like,
Oh,
to avoid
yeah.
being sued when we get super popular, we should change it to a worse name, which is what we did.
Well, it sounds like you did have some success with that band. So
Yeah. I mean, we toured a ton. You know, it was one of those things where like I said, we were like not taking it seriously.
yeah.
Like our songs at the beginning were like really, really short and weird and spazzy, and just like we were just messing around. We were just like trying to be antagonistic,
Yeah.
you know. But we were definitely like also like we were really into Devo and Talking Heads, especially. And there were some other like newer bands that we liked that we were kind of like stealing from. A band called Les Saviez Fav, who we ended up playing with, and kind of helped us, you know, reach, I guess, like a level of notoriety or success or whatever. But yeah, like we're sort of stumbling into these opportunities. You know, like we opened for the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, like right when they hit, you know,
Yeah.
and we played a sold out. We opened for them, sold out, like 500 person show.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, okay, like I think people might like this. And we were really crazy live, and just like it was unhinged, you know. Not in like a metal way, not in like a dangerous way,
Yeah.
but kind of dangerous. But just
You
in
weren't
this,
just standing on stage
no,
playing.
it was my
like high
brother, for
energy.
example. Like my brother played keyboards, and he was just like all over the stage, climbing on things and dragging people on the stage and getting in the audience. And, you know, we would all do that. And it was just like this. So at some point, like somebody was like, watching you guys reminds me of what it would be like to watch robots chop down trees. Like, and I always thought that was really like a funny, cool image.
Yeah.
Because it really was this just like crazy, spectacle.
Yeah.
And as we went, we kind of honed ourselves in, and we started to like write more like thoughtful songs and stuff like that. But I don't know, it connected with people for some reason. And, we were afforded a lot of really cool opportunities. You know?
It sounds like you played some pretty big festivals too with that band.
Yeah, we played, if people are familiar with Pitchfork, which is like a music blog that people probably don't care about as much now, but at the time was huge. And we got good reviews and like Rolling Stone and, other, cool like blogs and magazines, and we're, written up in like local things, and we got to tour a bunch, like I said, we played the Pitchfork did still does a festival every year. And we played the very first one with a lot of great bands. And like I said, we toured a ton. We went to Australia, we went to Europe, we toured Canada. Like we tried really hard to do the thing.
Yeah. And you're being modest about the Rolling Stone thing. Wasn't that one of the top 50 albums? What album was out at that time?
Yeah. I think it was 2006 maybe was when this happened. But it was really weird actually. Like they didn't review the record at all, which I never expected them to. And then I worked at Urban Outfitters at the time, and I had a cell phone, and I got a phone call from my friend Adam Graham, who I went to college with, who is he writes for the Detroit News still. He's like the movie reviewer, and he does like entertainment writing. And he calls me. He's like, "Dude, Rolling Stone." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I just got like an advanced copy of Rolling Stone. You guys are in the top 50 records of the year." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "No, like you're in it. You're like number 48 or something like that."
So it wasn't even like PR, like trying to get their attention. It just kind of happened.
So how it happened was this guy, Robert Christgau is his name. And he's still a very known music writer. He like wrote for like and did like stuff for NPR and Rolling Stone and all these other publications. I don't somehow heard our record. I don't know how. I don't know why. He's an older guy. He's probably like 80 now, And at the time he would have been 60, or whatever, 55. And he loved it, and he like lobbied to like put it in the top 50, even though they never reviewed it. We never had a mention in the magazine up until, and it was very surreal. And I always felt like a little suspicious of it, like just kind of like I almost would have rather they reviewed the album than put it in the top 50 because at the time it seemed like we like paid for it to be in there or something like that, which is not what happened. But still, it was like super awesome, and we were just like blown away by it. So
yeah. So I have to ask, what's the correct album title? Just a Mustache.
That's it.
It's
just
not. It's not mashed together a little faster.
One word. Just a mustache.
So it's like the German version of
sure,
where it's all mashed together into one word.
Why not?
All right, there we go. So I have to say I watched your Outsiders video. Is that
cool?
Is that a kind of the band got back together and put out a few songs?
The band, it's hard. Being in a band is not easy, especially in your 20s when you don't know. You're not mature enough yet to like understand how to like get along with people, and everyone's drinking and you're traveling and this is like pre-iPhone, so like you're lost and you're tired and you're sleeping at people's houses, and it's a grind. I mean, we like had a blast, and got to do and see and meet so many cool people and see so many amazing things, and it was an amazing experience, but it was not easy. And keeping, four people kind of rowing in the same direction when you're like barely making any money, you're trying to like hold on to your like relationships at home, and you're working like crappy jobs in between and barely paying your rent and stuff. Like, all those things like add up, And so we went through like a handful of lineup changes. And so the last lineup of the band was my brother and myself, and then Matt Rickle on drums and Julian Wetland on bass. And Matt and Julian were also in another band together and were basically childhood friends. And so they had known each other, and we had met them and became very good friends with them. So when like people were leaving, we like ended up getting them to come play in the band, and we did a tour of Europe with that lineup. And we played some shows locally and stuff, but when we kind of got back, it was like we were tired, you know, and those guys wanted to do their other band. And so we just kind of stopped. And I think maybe we played like a couple of times, between, this would have been like 2007, 2014 maybe or something, 15. But yeah, we did get back together. We had a couple songs that like we never recorded. Julian never recorded with the band. And we just like, Trump was elected president and we had shit to say about it. And so I like finished writing the lyrics to these songs that were never really truly done. And we just went in and we did a couple songs. So.
Yeah, it was a really cool video.
And I'm happy with how those came out. Like if we never do anything again, which is pretty likely, I'm glad that those are like the last two things that we did.
Yeah. And the video was really cool. It was really, it looked like really professional.
Yeah, my brother is a video producer, so
there you go.
He made it and edited it, and he's like a professional.
Great. And the one thing that when I first put it on and listened to it, that like one guitar riff, I was just like, this sounds like the Jam's Eaton Rifles.
Okay, I love
and I was
that.
just like,
cool,
but like way heavier.
Yeah,
like,
it does actually.
And it was just like, oh my god, I love this. And I was like, immediately, I was immediately sucked into it.
I never thought about that, but I love the Jam, so like it certainly was probably like subconsciously.
It's all inspired. I mean, that's what music
awesome.
is. It's all
totally. I have no shame, by the way. Like I will very easily admit to everything that I've ripped off musically in my life.
If anybody tells you that what they do is 100% original, they're probably lying.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think influence is actually like an amazing, part of the creative process.
Exactly. So with Thunderbirds Are Now, you mentioned that you played on a moving yacht in the middle of Sydney Harbor.
We did.
What was that about?
So we ended up getting the opportunity to go tour in Australia, and it was surreal. Again, like some of these opportunities that I was afforded back then was just like, I can't believe I'm here because I play guitar, basically. And we did this tour. It was us. Do you know the band The Hold Steady? Are you familiar with them? They were starting to get kind of popular, and it was another band. I mentioned them earlier. They're called Les Savifav, and indie bands, like underground bands, but like known enough to go and do like a headlining tour of Australia. So we were invited to be the opening band on this tour. It was actually 2 tours happening at the same time. And we would it's like 3 bands each show. And we'd play one night, and then the other tour would play like the next night at the same venue, and then we'd go on to play like a different venue at a different city. Yeah. But the tour culminated in this weird experience where we all played, all the bands from both tours that were happening. So 6 bands, and I think one other band played too. We all played on a yacht, like a gigantic boat, to 200, Sydneyites.
Yeah.
That just basically looped in the Sydney Harbor for a couple hours, and like the power blew out like 10 times, and like I think
the yacht wasn't really meant.
It was not meant to host this event by any means, but it was. They had done it. So Les Savifav had done a tour of Australia before, and they had done this once before. So they proved out that it worked, sort of. But it was just like, what am I doing here? I can't believe we're doing this. This is amazing. And I'll forever be grateful that I got to do something like that.
That is pretty cool. I am in my head picturing like some cheesy like 80s like White Snake video or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like that.
It wasn't like that. I wish it was. It was a bunch of like
but just like wind and
skinny
long hair
Australian
and
kids, like, emaciated Australians drinking Fosters and like partying on a boat with their like favorite bands,
Nice.
And us.
Yeah. Well, you I'm sure you're one of the favorites.
Debatable, but we were there.
You're being humble. All right. So, and then I guess one last point on Thunderbirds Are Now. You were in a documentary.
Yeah. My friend Kelly, who's super talented, and played in a band called The Trembling, that we would play with back in that era, made a really great movie kind of about that time. And it's called Is That All There Is what it's called. She did like a lot of like film festivals. It's not readily available right now. I think she's still working on like trying to get distribution for it. So I don't think it's something that like the public can watch.
She has a trailer up.
Yeah, there's like trailers.
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
Like
that was pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's one of those movies that like nobody besides the people who are around will know any of these bands, but it doesn't matter because the story and like the way she tells it is really captivating. And, you don't have to know who the bands are to like get into the story of it all. So yeah, it's just a cool document of like Detroit music in like this kind of weird time, like pre-streaming, pre-social media. It felt like still very dangerous and unpredictable, and a lot of different like kind of bands were playing together, and it was like, it was my 20s, so it was just like the most exciting time, and yeah, she did like a really great job of capturing the essence of what that experience was like. So
nice. Yeah, when it's finally out and available, it'll be a good watch.
Yeah, I think so. I have to look and see if she's like she was in a film festival in Birmingham. She lives in New York now, but so I got to go watch it like in a movie theater.
Oh,
which
nice.
was really cool.
Wow.
And my parents came and Jody came and stuff. So
that's
nice.
awesome. So post Thunderbirds Are Now, you're in Friendly Foes.
Correct.
So what was that similar to Thunderbirds Are Now, or was it you kind of pivoted into something new? Or
yeah, it was definitely like a pivot. 3-piece band, myself, drummer, and we had a couple drummers, and then Liz Whitman is her name on bass. So it was not the first band that I was ever in with a female, but we were kind of like the Pixies, or I was trying to like turn back into like the music I loved as a kid, like Beatles kind of like inspired power pop music.
Yeah.
And so definitely a pivot. Not again. Like I was the only guitar player in Thunderbirds for most of its existence. And I liked just being the only guitar player. So it was just a 3-piece. She played bass. Sorry. But that was a fun band. We wrote like a lot of cool songs. She wrote some songs and sang some songs, and we harmonized a lot together, and we didn't really know each other very well until we started playing together. It was kind of one of those like I had like started working on some new music, and I think it was like the MySpace, like era or whatever. Yeah. And I put like a song or two up on MySpace, and like a couple people heard it and were like, "Hey, do you want to like play these?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, cool." So it just kind of like came together. It wasn't really even like supposed to be like we didn't last that long, but it wasn't supposed to last as long as it did. I guess in my mind, I was like, I'm going to go back to Thunderbirds. Like, we'll get this going again.
Yeah.
But we just never did, and so Friendly Foes kind of became my main focus, and I'm really proud of the music we made. And Sean, who ended up joining the band on drums a little bit later, then kind of followed me in a couple of different projects after that. So that was kind of fun to like, you know, start that relationship and that musical partnership from Friendly Foes, and played again, you know, a lot of cool shows.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the first time that like I felt confident writing the kind of music that we played, like is essentially more or less the kind of music I've been making since then, which is like energetic, like super melodic, jangly, like anthemic kind of like pop rock, you know? And that was kind of like my first real, like, all right. Cause I, you know, Red Shirt, I played drums and it was kind of weird
Yeah.
music. And then Thunderbirds was more like a experimental thing too. And this was me just kind of being like, I just want to sound like the Who, you know?
Yeah. So is this when you picked up a Rickenbacker?
I played the Rick
Or-
and Thunderbirds because I love this band Fugazi, and one of the guitar players in Fugazi, which was an influence on Thunderbirds, played a Rickenbacker. And I always loved them. You know, John Lennon obviously plays one. And
They're just really cool,
my
too.
hero, Paul Weller, plays one. So, you know, and then I graduated from college, and my parents were like, you know, very cool of them to do. They were like, as your graduation gift, we'd like to buy you a guitar. So my dad and I drove to Elderly in Lansing and picked out the Rickenbacker.
Oh, cool.
And so, yeah, I played that in Thunderbirds. I played that in Friendly Foes. I've played it on and off. You know, I love that guitar.
Yeah, just when you mentioned jangly about Friendly Foes, it sounded like it was...
Yeah. I mean, it definitely came in handy. You know, like it was maybe like a weird guitar for me to play in Thunderbirds to an extent. I didn't think so. It was kind of gave it like a unique edge to it, I think. But, you know, also it was like, okay, like what else can this thing do? You know, and big kind of like lush chords and stuff is like, it's what it's known for. So
yeah. Cool. So after Friendly Foes, it looks like you kind of went into more kind of the solo artist world.
Not by choice necessarily, but like Friendly Foes was starting to kind of lose steam, and I was working on songs for like what would have been like maybe our follow up to we made one record. It's called Born Radical. And then we did a couple EPs and stuff too, but so we ended up kind of fizzling out, you know, and I wanted to keep making that kind of music, and I started to work on some new tunes, and we had a practice space, and I, you know, kind of started to figure out how to like record on my computer. And so I would go to the practice space and just bring my computer and like make demos basically of these new songs by myself. And then, you know, when it kind of came time to like figure out like, you know, what the next thing we were going to do was, we ended up breaking up, you know? Yeah. And so I was like, well, I have all these songs. I can play all these instruments. I should probably just record these by myself, you know? And I would do demos and stuff, like play drums and bass and whatever. But I got, you know, sort of like the idea in my head that I could do it all myself. So I booked studio time at a studio in Ferndale called Temper Mill, hooked up with my buddy Dave Feeney, and made a solo record. And I still had like friends come and play on it, but that was kind of my first like toe dip into that whole thing.
So are the friends your extra arms?
This is, yes, you put it all together. So, you know, that first record I made is just self-titled. It's just Ryan Allen and his extra arms. I felt weird just putting my name on it, you know, so I wanted kind of like a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers kind of thing, but there was no Heartbreakers, you know, there was no extra arms at the time in terms of a band. But I felt like, okay, I'm going to do a solo record, but I want to have people play on it that would do something different than what I might come up with, or can play something that I can't play. So I had a ton of friends come play saxophone and violin and keyboards and guitar, and you know, it was cool, like that, you know, added like a different like color element to it that like would not have been the same if either it wasn't there or if I played some of those things, you know. So I liked that kind of like juxtaposition of, you know, here's these songs that I wrote, and the foundation of is like coming from one person, but then some of the like adornments are from other people, and I like that about it. I'm glad I did it like that.
Cool. So eventually it just turned into Extra Arms. It went, you dropped the Ryan Allen and just it became Extra Arms. So was it the same kind of music still?
Yeah, pretty much, like still kind of riding on that same sort of like melodic rock kind of wave. And eventually, I just started to feel uncomfortable with the idea that it was like my thing. And by that time, it was myself, my friend Mike playing guitar, my friend Ryan playing bass, and then Sean, who was in Friendly Foes with me, playing drums. And we started to like write songs together. And so it just felt like unfair, for them. Like, I just didn't want it to feel like a cover band of my own music.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to feel like they could like contribute, ideas to it and stuff. So we made a record called Headacre. And that's the first like Extra Arms record that isn't
was that
predated.
Another cross country trip?
No, we made it in Ann Arbor, so nothing crazy, but yeah, I just felt like it was the right thing to do, and I do feel like it was the right thing to do, and actually Sean and I were playing in another band kind of at the same time called Destroy This Place, which I weirdly this time is what like vortex when it comes to podcasts, I guess. But last night, which doesn't matter anymore because whenever people hear this, it won't be last night anymore. But I hung out with those guys for the first time in like 7-8 years.
Oh, wow.
All of us together in one place.
Yeah.
Like I've hung out with them all individually and seen them and stuff. But anyways, that band was going. That was really fun. But Extra Arms kind of just, morphed in from like me kind of like front manning to like, hey, like, no, let's be a band, and I'm glad we did it like that, because if it was just me by myself, like those records would not sound like they sound. And I love those records. So.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense then to just, give the band its own name.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't, like if you want to do a band at this age, especially, and back then, it was like 10 years ago when we probably first started or something. But, you can't be like, hey, you guys want to split this 4 ways when it's like not really their band,
Yeah.
Or, hey, do you guys, want to weigh in on the artwork or, whatever it might be that like is like a collective thing.
Yeah.
Like it felt like the right thing to do. And I think it opened the door for the other people to become more invested in it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then somewhere in there, COVID hit, and I get the interesting thing is, so Extra Arms, you did record an album during COVID.
We did, yeah.
So and you also did some of your own home project.
Yeah,
which
went crazy.
Yeah, which I guess that the Extra Arms. How I guess what were the mechanics of recording an album during COVID with multiple people?
It was a mess, kind of. So I had demoed all these songs. I was feeling very restless and had a lot more time on my hands. And, it's weird to talk about because there was so much sadness around COVID. And like whenever people talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, I just like had all this extra time. It's like, yeah, but also like people were literally dying, so it's a weird thing to talk about, I guess, in that way. But, I, being a creative person, like, and restless and having ideas and all the time and stuff, like, I just was like, I can't just sit around waiting for this to be over. Like, I need to do something. And it took it wasn't like right away that we started working on stuff. I mean, I was like still kind of working on stuff, but eventually I kind of convinced the other guys that we could do this. And at the time, our drummer, Dan, didn't have like a setup or anything to like record at home. So what he ended up doing, like I would like send him a demo and then I'd strip the drums out of it that I would record. Like I would send him the MP3 of like the completed song. Then I'd send him like, a drumless version of it. And then he would take his GoPro camera that he had and record him, like video himself playing along to it. And then he would send me the video, and then I would extract the audio from the GoPro, shitty GoPro video with the GoPro microphone recording the drums, like
it's not made
totally
for that.
blown out and crappy. But it was to like figure out the drum parts, you know, and it didn't matter because we weren't going to like release that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how we like started to figure it out. And then Dan and I went and like over to a friend's house who has like a bunch of gear that he had recorded with our friend Chuck. And in one day, without ever rehearsing, recorded the drums and the guitar, like scratch guitar. So like I ended up re-recording it, but we basically recorded all of the drums to 10 songs or 11 songs or how many songs are on that record, which is called What Is Even Happening Right Now, which I think is very
makes sense.
Poignant for the times. But that's how we did it. Like we didn't practice ever. We would trade notes back and forth. The other guys were kind of just like waiting in the wings for us to do part one, which was record the drums. We were masked up. We, you know, kind of like tried to stay far away from each other, and ripped it in one day, you know, and it was great, you know. And so I would then go back, just myself, pretty much, and Chuck, and we would record with masks on, and I would do guitars and whatever. And then eventually Ryan, our bass player, I never saw him. He just did it all at home. Once we kind of like got things going and together, and Mike, our guitar player, again, all masked up, him and I would, you know, we did it in short little pods, and we did it in a house, you know, so I don't know, I guess that felt safer. It was just a weird time in general, to say the least. And, you know, there's a lot of like stuff that I don't need to go into that just like made it harder. But eventually the vaccine came out and got vaccinated. And then we flew actually to LA, or to Orange. Actually, it's not LA, but Anaheim essentially.
Yeah.
And our friend Paul mixed it with us in person. So first plane ride in a long time, first travel in a long time. Like still COVID weird, you know, still like if you go inside, wear a mask, but you can be unmasked outside, you know, that kind of thing, or like whatever. And we weren't wearing masks in the studio at the time, but it took a long time, man. You know, it took a long time to put together. And then the vinyl took almost a year to get pressed. And so it was like a 2-year project. Yeah. And when we finally could get together, we had to like basically relearn how to play all the songs. So it was, but you know, we pulled it off. Like, I think it's a cool record, you know, there's some like guests on it and stuff. So that was kind of fun. Where like, I was like, this person's probably not doing anything. I can like email them or reach out to them on Facebook. And like, I don't know if you know the band Nada Surf, who had that song Popular in the 90s. That
sounds
Popular, very familiar. So it's kind of like Weezer.
Yeah. The band name sounds familiar. I'm trying to.
Great band. So I had like their singer Matthew sang like harmony and backup on a song, you know, and I'm a huge fan of that band. Yeah. So it was like one of those things where it's like at any other time this would never have happened. Yeah. But because it's COVID and people aren't touring, and
they're looking to
like, here's $100, man. Will you sing on my song? He's like, sure. You know?
And they're just probably looking for some sort of connection.
Yeah.
Something.
I didn't know him, you know. I just reached out.
Oh, you didn't even know him?
No. I just was like, are you down? And he was like, sure, why not? So that was kind of a cool like component to that experience. Yeah.
And so when I mentioned, you know, recording your home stuff, your eyes kind of lit up. So it sounds like you did a lot of your own recording.
Yeah, I made a bunch of records over COVID. You know, I just couldn't stop. I think part of it was thinking like the world was ending, or like I was, you know, I don't know. I was honestly like, some of it was like fear induced, you know, of just like, I don't know if this will ever end. Yeah. You know, how is this going to end? And I just kind of was like, you know, got distracted myself, honestly, from those like true like terror, I guess, by
Yeah.
just being creative and trying things down here and trying to teach myself how to record. So yeah, I did, a handful of like, records that, most of the songs have never been played live. And one is like a 24 song, like psychotic, like I would write like 3 songs in a day and then also record them all in the same day.
Like the Clash's Sandinista. Or
Yeah,
something.
kind of. Yeah. And just like experimenting with different genres and vibes and styles and, I don't know, just like trying stuff.
Yeah.
So the quality of the recordings are not maybe like the best, but again, it goes back to like what I was kind of saying at the beginning of the conversation, which is like, if you constantly are talking yourself out of things because you're worried about what people are going to do or think or say, you are probably missing out on, at the very least, an opportunity to learn something. You know? So I allowed myself to do that.
Yeah, like learn recording and also really kind of learn what you're capable of creating.
Yeah. I mean, anything can be a song in my mind. And that was kind of the idea. It was just like, oh, this is like a minute and a half. It's got like 1 verse, 1 chorus.
Yeah.
But it's cool. And I don't feel like writing anymore. But it doesn't matter because I'm in charge, you know? And that was like my whole vibe on it.
You're the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. So that brings us to, post-COVID and, one of your current bands, Big Life.
Yeah. I don't mean to laugh, but it's just, it's a very fun band to be in.
So, the Metro Times, according to you, mentioned it as one of the best punk bands in Detroit area.
The best.
But
the best.
I think on your bio it says one of the best.
I might have been being modest.
So I did look it up, and it actually in bold all caps on their website said best musical artist punk Big Life
there
2025. So
can't be disputed.
Yes, exactly. You are the best.
We're number 1.
Well, last year.
Yeah.
Well,
now
you're still gonna maintain your title.
I don't know how that happened, by the way, but either way, we'll take it.
So, like, how did Big Life come to be?
Yeah, man. I've always been someone who's kind of had a couple of things going at the same time. Not always, not every single band I've been in, but definitely times in my life where I've been in a couple bands at once. Just because like I have other ideas that don't really fit into like the mold of the band that whatever I'm doing, and so Extra Arms was going. We had made that COVID record, and then our guitar player left, and then we got another guy, Jordan, this really fantastic guitar player, Jordan Wright is his name, to play, and we were writing music for that. But then kind of like on the side, I was like itching to do something else too. And I was listening to a lot of like 80s hardcore. So like Minor Threat and Dag Nasty, and just like bands that I quite honestly wasn't as into as a kid, but like came around to later in life. And just like messing around with different like ideas and riffs and stuff. And I ended up buying like a chorus pedal, which is like famously like the pedal on Nevermind that just like defines the guitar sound.
Yeah.
But also a lot of those hardcore and punk bands from the 80s use that pedal for some reason. And it just has this like very unique sound. So I bought one of those and I was just messing around and I was like, oh, this, I think, there's some like cool ideas here. And so, I know this is like a Berkeley focused podcast, sort of, kind of. So Dan Nixon, who is the singer in Big Life, his wife owns Rewear Vintage, who you should interview, by the way. And Dan and I are super good friends. And one day I was like, we like run together. Our kids went to school together. We went on these like vacations together and stuff. Like we went to college together, actually.
Oh.
But we weren't really super good friends in college. Like we became friends, when our kids started going to school together, and we both realized we lived in Berkeley, which I lived in Berkeley at the time when we sort of reconnected. And I don't think he would be like mad at me for kind of saying this, so I'll say it. His dad passed away, and it was, very difficult, as you can imagine. So we were running together and talk about music, and one day I was like, "Hey, man, we should start a band, and you should be the singer." Like I think part of my like thought was like, I want to help give my friend like a outlet, to kind of like deal with this thing, but also, like it would be fun to do. And I don't think he took me seriously at the time, and I was like, no, like I'll write some songs, like we'll figure it out. And so I ended up like writing like 6 songs really fast, demoing them, just me playing everything, but didn't sing anything on it. And I sent it to him, and I was like, here's our band. And he was like, oh, you were being serious, And I was like, yeah, dude. And I was like he hadn't played in a band. He was in a band called The Negatives when we were in college, like a rancid-y kind of like punk band. And but hadn't played in a band since like it'd been 20 years basically since he played in a band. And I was like, I just feel like you could be the singer in a hardcore band. He's like, I'll try it, And so I sent him the songs. He wrote some words. We started to try to find a couple other people to play with. We found Jordan and Sean. Sean Govero plays bass. Jordan Von Zinda plays drums. And
did you mention Sean earlier? Is this the same Sean?
Different Sean. Right. Yeah. People that were acquaintances of mine, but not like super tight friends.
Yeah.
And none of them knew each other. All of them knew me to certain degrees, but none of them knew each other. And it's crazy how it kind of happened because, when you get older, maybe this is my experience and not other people's, but I just think it's harder to make friends.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so part of it like was like coming out of COVID feeling like, that isolation and all that stuff. Like just like wanting to like find your tribe again or something, and like I just felt like at the time, like I didn't really have like a ton of friends, like I kind of like went into my own little world. And so, this band, it's so funny. Like we didn't know each other at all, but we just really clicked, and and it took a little bit of time to like feel each other out. But, we practiced like it was around the holidays in 2022, probably 2022 or 2023. I can't remember, something like that. And first practice, they had like 4 songs,
Yeah.
And Dan wrote words, and we played them together, and they had like kind of studied them on their own, because I sent them the demos beforehand. And we were just like, at the end of it, we're like, okay,
nice.
I guess we're going to do this, And I'm so grateful that we took, again, this all comes back to just like taking chances, not being afraid to fail, seeing what happens, seeing what works. And this band has become like the centerpiece of my musical life now, because not only do me and Sean and Jordan and Dan play together in Big Life, but Sean and Jordan are my backup band for my solo stuff. And then John, my friend John Nelson, who I play in a band with called Speed Circuit, I play drums, is also now in Big Life.
Oh.
So we have these bands that kind of share members and like different sounds and different instruments. And it's just this kind of cool little family,
Yeah. I was going to ask with like Speed Circuit, like, you Big Life is kind of goes back to that old hardcore
Yeah,
sound.
yeah.
So what's Speed Circuit all about?
Speed Circuit is John Nelson, my friend John, who I was in a band called Destroy This Place with that I mentioned earlier, who was also in a really great band when we were younger called New Granada, and also in a really awesome band called Copper Thieves, and has done some other things too. But John was like one of the first. He's a little older than I am. So when I was like coming up, in like the Detroit music scene, like one of my first like cool shows that Remington played was with John's band at the time called Cloud Car, which is an awesome name. Care Bears reference there. But he was just one of those people where I was like, that guy gets it. Like he's really good. He's a really good songwriter. And the thing he's doing musically is like sounds very similar to like all the music I'm like getting into right now. And he just seemed like he knew how to do this, And so I always looked up to John, and we became friends, at some point, and eventually started playing together and Destroy This Place. I don't know. I probably don't need to give all this like backstory and stuff, but like,
no, it's fine.
I'm a context person, so like I just think people need to know the like history of things, for better or for worse. But anyway, so I've known John for a very long time, and John made some like home recordings over COVID, and I thought they were really great. And he didn't really have like a musical outlet at the time. Like he just recorded them at home and like basically played most of it himself, and had like a couple, like I actually played drums on a couple songs that I just recorded here at home, sent to him, I was just like, if you want to make this into a band, like I'll play drums, and so we did, and we got our friend Brent to play bass. And that band, I would say, you mentioned Dinosaur Jr. earlier, so it's very much in that kind of like Dinosaur Jr., Neil Young. I don't know if you know Built to Spill, but it's like it's like melodic,
Yeah.
but kind of it's loud and stuff, but like there's like a I'm trying to think of like a good explanation that doesn't sound like record nerd explanation, but it's like there's a contemplativeness to what John does that I've always really appreciated. Like he loves like fast, like thrashy punk music, but like John's tempo is mid tempo,
Yeah.
like some of our songs are definitely like punky and faster, but like there's something about John's just kind of approach that I've always loved, and it's kind of this just like easy, effortless. He's just a great songwriter, you know? So I feel very privileged and grateful to play music with him again in multiple projects.
So right now you have Big Life, Speed Circuit. Is Extra Arms still active?
Not currently. There's some songs that I had like written, before. So our guitar player, Jordan, I play in two bands with two people named Jordan, by the way, and two people named Dan. It's very confusing. And my name is Ryan, and the bass player from Extra Arms is named Ryan. So the family, we'll have to do the family tree like graphic, for the episode. But
by all means, if you feel like making it,
I'll just have ChatGPT.
We'll put it out there.
But shoot, what was the question? Extra Arms. So Jordan, our guitar player, he moved to Tecumseh, Michigan, which is like an hour and a half away, hour 15, like south of Ann Arbor. And I just was like, just the like getting another guitar player to play. I was just like, I don't really want to right now. So we could do it as a 3-piece, but we just have kind of been it's been like a year and a half since we played.
All right. And Ryan Allen and the Full Court Press.
Yeah.
What is that?
That is kind of my current like vehicle for my songs that I sing. So I made a couple solo records last year here in my basement where we're recording this, and they turned out really good. I recorded them myself, but then I had my friend Paul, who mixed a a lot of the extra arm stuff mix it. And I was blown away by the quality of like what I was able to capture here, but then how he was able to kind of like bring it to life.
Yeah.
I could not believe how good he made what I very amateur-ishly, is that a word? I just made it up if it's not.
Sounds credible to me.
Yeah, why not? It's, paging what's Encyclopedia Britannica? I don't know. Who makes the dictionary? Dictionary.com. Anyway, I just couldn't believe how good it sounded. And I love the songs, it's so the record I made 2 records last year because I'm insane. And the first one is called Living on a Prayer on the Edge, which is a reference to both Bon Jovi and Aerosmith. But for some reason, but I really love the songs and I really wanted to play them live and didn't really have a band at the time to do it. So I just asked Sean and Jordan if they wanted to learn the songs and back me up. And they said, sure. And then we had our friend Megan come play guitar. And she plays with us sometimes. She's in a really great band called Twin Deer. We play the songs from those records and it's really fun. They're really, Jordan and Sean, I love playing with them in both Big Life and in my solo project. And we're currently working on a record together. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Fun. When is that release planned?
We're still writing the songs. So we're about 6 songs into the 10 that I have. So
And is that going to be part of the full court press?
yeah. So it'll
probably,
at this point,
or will there be another band, a new band?
I've thought about it, again, it kind of comes back to like the idea of like, I know it's me and I'm like the one that's kind of like driving a lot of it, but we are working on these together and they don't care. I don't feel like, because we have Big Life too, and they're also in like other bands as well.
Yeah.
So, for them, it's not like their only project.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but I definitely am excited about it, despite feeling very uncertain about the future. Like, again, like the don't quit attitude that I feel like I've had to like hold on to since I've been doing this. I can't let go of it now.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep forging ahead. All the bands are working on new music. Big Life's got, a handful of new songs that we're messing around with. Speed Circuit's got 5 or 6 new ones. I've got 5 or 6 new ones. So, it's fun. It's still fun.
Yeah.
It's still something I'm passionate about. And I really enjoy, I think now more than ever, it's equally or more so about the hang and about the friendships than it is about, the music is super important too, but like, I really feel so grateful and so lucky to have these friends in my life that I can make music with and hang out with and talk to and text. And, I just, before you got here, was on the phone with Dan, the singer of Big Life, just talking about the world right now, and just feels good to have those people in your life that you can feel like you're not alone, and these guys are my family now, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good to be able to, connect with people that musically and on a personal level too.
Yeah, and it doesn't always happen, like,
it
I
doesn't.
not going to name names, but like I've been in bands with people that I have grown to dislike over time, and I'm sure I know that there've been people who've been in bands with me that have grown to dislike me over time. And that brings some challenges forth, and sometimes it can create some cool tension that you can like channel into your music or into your art or your creativity. But at the same time, it can be uncomfortable. And so there's none of that now, like everybody's cool to each other and respectful. We're all in our 40s, so it's like you just grow and you learn how to communicate and you learn how to pick your battles. And, it's such a unique yet familiar thing to do music and play with other people. because it's constantly teaching you how to have relationships, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And so I feel really, just like, again, I keep saying like grateful and lucky, but like I really feel grateful and lucky that I have these people in my life. And again, it's the music part of it is super awesome. And I'm so stoked on everything that we do. But like the friendships that we've cultivated, especially in big life, having not known each other,
Yeah.
and so anybody who's like listening to this, I think you could not listen to a single note of any music that I've ever made, and I think what I would rather you take away is like how important connection and friendships and relationships can be, especially now when things are so upside down in the world,
Yeah, and that's what Zoe and I. That's what got us to start this podcast. I mean, we're new to the area, so just meet some people.
Yeah.
But the big thing is that whole connection thing. Like people you otherwise would never even talk to, or
Totally.
maybe like if I walked into Reware, we've been in there many times. It's kind of at the end of our street.
Yeah.
And we say hi, maybe say something here and there, really short, but then getting to actually know people, like sitting down with you, like because we got to interview Jody.
Yeah.
And now, through Jody, I'm getting to meet you and learning your story and, seeing a lot of the similarities, not only between, the two of us, but seeing similarities between yourself and like the Coffee and Bark people.
Sure.
And, other people that we've interviewed.
Well, it's a community, right? And
it's really interesting.
I think it's people are afraid to talk to each other, I think, in some ways right now, I think we've gone away from the idea of like getting to know your neighbors and
definitely.
And I feel like what you're doing is so important because you have like this icebreaker, right? Like you've got the podcast, which kind of like gives you this sort of like key to opening up conversations and making connections, which I think is cool. But like it's not like I don't feel like I'm not doing bands for anybody to like give me all this adulation. I'm doing it because like I want to connect with people.
Yeah.
And so I commend you guys for putting yourselves out there, which, is not easy to do. And also to like, risk people being like, what? What are you trying to do? Like, rejecting the idea or whatever it might be. I just think it's such a cool, I mean, I have a podcast, so like it's not popular. No one probably listens to it, but like, again, it comes back to just like the idea of just trying to like connect with people and have conversations right now. I feel like more importantly than ever.
Yeah, and definitely. And I mean, so far we haven't had anybody with truly opposing kind of points of view, let's say.
Sure.
But I definitely want to work on that. I mean, there's definitely some people in my neighborhood that I may just go knock on their door or on that Berkeley Facebook group, which has some interesting people on it.
Yeah.
I may just reach out to some of those people that we've gotten into a little squabble here and there, and
I think that's
tell them what I
cool.
want. I just because on some of those, it's like just going off on each other for random reasons, and I'm just, in the end, I'm just like, why are we doing this? I was like, we probably have way more in common.
We're not that different.
It's
so stupid.
The people that we're being influenced by.
It's so dumb. What we've turned into as a society, it will never not blow my mind because we are all so similar.
Yeah.
We're all just trying to,
pay our mortgage, pay our rent,
like, whatever. You take care of our kids,
Yeah.
ourselves. Like I mean, obviously, there's different people out there that are like not good people that are,
but there's such a small percentage.
It's like,
but somehow they're wielding all this power over everybody.
And what it's doing, I think, is making people afraid to connect. You know, and at the off chance that you might have a different opinion than them, which like, that's what like. Of course, you're going to have different opinions than people, and that's totally okay. Like, I mean, do I want to sit and talk to someone who's like super anti-trans for an hour? Not really. But if they can have an open dialogue and in a you know, at least like a non-aggressive conversation
Yeah.
about why they might feel that way, I'll listen.
Yeah.
You know, as long as they're, you know, open to hearing the opposite point of view. And it's not to change each other's mind. It's just to have a dialogue.
Yeah.
You know, learn why. Why do you feel this way? Maybe there's something that happened in that person's life that like triggered them and like caused them to like fall down a rabbit hole to formulate these beliefs, you know? And if we don't talk to each other and we don't have these conversations, like we're just going to stay stuck in those places, you know? And I feel like it's so important to have an open mind and be willing to hear people's point of view, and as long as it's done in a non-violent, non-threatening way,
Yeah. And
we can have discourse all day long about shit.
It doesn't even have to be on any of these, you know, hot topics that get people all riled up. It could be about, you know, I don't know, the fact that, I don't know, this area of Michigan has black squirrels, which I've, you know, coming from other parts in the country, I've never seen before.
Why are there so many rabbits in
and they're so
Berkeley?
interesting, you know? Yeah. You know, just everything. Like, okay, what's your favorite coffee place? You know, just
I saw this
there's
really,
so many, yeah.
I saw this really cool clip a while back. It was like maybe 3 months ago or something, and it was during Pride, so it was last month, and it was this person, like, you know, kind of wearing like, it was I don't know if the person identifies as male, but like a male presenting person with, you know, traditionally female like adornments, you know, makeup,
Yeah.
painted nails, whatever. Talking to this, you know, like cisgender white older guy.
Yeah.
And the sort of discourse between them was kind of like, you know, one guy was protesting the Pride event and the other guy was like kind of responding to it, and they were kind of having this back and forth, and the person that was clearly there to celebrate Pride turns to the guy and he goes, let me ask you a question. And the guy's like, okay. And he goes, what's your favorite pizza topping? Like, just, you know, they're like having this like political conversation and this back and forth. And he's like, hold on. What kind of pizza do you like? And the guy kind of was like, what? He's like, what kind of pizza? What toppings do you like on your pizza? And the guy kind of stops his like rant about trans people. He's like, well, I like all kinds of toppings. He's like, oh, like what? You know, and he's like, well, the guy's like, do you like meat on your pizza? He's like, yeah. I was like, what kind? He's like, I like bacon, you know? And it totally just diffused the whole thing. And the dude at the end is, or whatever, the pro Pride person, we'll call them, says, see, we're not that different.
Yeah.
We both like pizza. Like, there's probably a lot of things that we both like that are the same.
Exactly.
And this is ridiculous that we're sitting here talking about this.
I may steal that pizza thing
Please
for
do.
when I do speak to somebody with an opposing point of
It's
view.
good to have something in your back pocket to pull out.
Definitely. All right, so kind of getting back to the music part of it, to kind of wrap that up. So playing in a band versus solo work, what are the things you like and maybe dislike of doing each?
Yeah, I think I'm a pretty controlling person. And when I'm in that like controlling mindset, sometimes I'm just like, I just need to execute this the way that I envision it, you know, in my head or whatever. But on the flip side, you know, you mentioned the Clash, you mentioned the Jam, like you mentioned these bands, right? Like the Clash is a band, you know? And so I love the gang mentality of like playing with, you know, other people. And I've already, I feel like, talked so much about like the friendship aspect of it. But I also just appreciate the sort of like, you know, the unpredictableness of like other people coming up with parts or ideas that you would never come up with, you know? So it just kind of depends, you know, I enjoy both. I always like work on like for my own music, especially like that I'm singing and playing guitar in, like I focus, like I will demo everything on my own, and then like hand it off to like everybody to learn sometimes, more or less just to like get the ball rolling on things, not necessarily to like replicate exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm always open to like new ideas. But yeah, it just kind of depends on like where I'm at, with what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah. All right. So what is your favorite go-to guitar that you have in your?
Well, right now I've got this $600 blacktop Jazzmaster that I've been playing a lot. It's right over there.
Oh yeah.
It's got the resist sticker on it. It's got like a whammy bar, so I like to kind of like go around, with that. And so that's been my kind of like go-to right now. I had that's a guitar that I bought when my son was born. He's 15 now, and I bought it when he was like 6 months old. Like sort of pretending, but also hoping maybe like it would be his guitar.
I did the same exact thing.
But he's really not into guitars, so it's mine now, and he can have it if he ever wants it. But yeah, it's just a guitar that I kind of like bought and would use for recording, but didn't really play a lot. So now I've been playing it a ton.
Yeah, so it's interesting you mentioned that because I acquired the J Mascis Squire Jazzmaster
cool.
in a trade like way back.
Yeah, white with like this gold.
With the gold. Yeah,
super cool.
But the pickups are amazing on that thing.
Yeah, that's a good guitar.
So it's just been kind of sitting in a case, and then, probably like, I think when we moved, then I actually put it on the wall, and it's been my go-to since.
Yeah,
and it's just
it's a rad guitar.
I love everything about the sound of that.
Yeah, me too.
For a Squire, it's just like this thing, like blows doors.
It totally
on
rocks. Yeah,
other
like
stuff.
My buddy Marty, who I've talked about a few times. Him and I went to a guitar store like a couple months ago together, super randomly, like hadn't hung out in a minute, and he bought one of those there.
Yeah.
And I played them on some recordings and stuff. They're great.
Yeah. I mean, for what a lot of people would consider a low end guitar.
Yeah,
it's
a really nice guitar. And if J Mascis is going to put his name on it, it's going
to have that. It's not going to sound like your traditional.
There's a stamp
Jazzmaster.
of approval for sure.
Exactly. All right. So, what's your favorite guitar riff?
Ooh.
Or just let's say the one that like, I don't know, has that kind of.
Oh my gosh.
Like Eaton Rifles kind of came to mind when I heard that. Like
cool one. Favorite guitar riff,
or just something in the top that you put in the top 10. Because my favorites.
Ticket to Ride, maybe.
Oh yeah.
There's a ton of Beatles songs that I could easily name. I mean, I could get down with some like Bulls on Parade, that's just such a cool, like powerful guitar riff.
Yeah.
The first guitar riff I ever learned was Shine by Collective Soul.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like that was like the first time that I was like, oh, like you can play different things on the guitar that aren't chords,
Yeah. I haven't gotten there yet.
It is not my favorite riff, but it's maybe the first like non-chord thing I learned how to do on the guitar.
I suck at non-chord things, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, chords are probably better in the long run, but there's like Nirvana songs that I could probably name. I'm more of I love riffs. I think riffs are, so when you hear a good one, there's a ton of Fugazi songs that have like cool riffs in it, and you're just like, that's so awesome. But I'm always like a melody first person for sure.
Yeah. All right. Now, since you're a drummer, what is your favorite drum part of a song? Like something that's really memorable. I have something in my head it just always comes to
like the Phil Collins drum roll and
no, for me it's the thing I will when I see it pop up on my playlist in the car, the volume goes like full. It is the beginning to Passenger by Iggy Pop.
Okay, that's a good one.
I for some reason, I
Yeah.
just love that.
On
It's
the
nothing special,
passenger.
but just when the drums come in at the very beginning and that,
Yeah.
the cymbal, the hit happens, it's just like after that, just, the song. But before that, it's just like this big,
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it all to happen.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I was gonna say, "We're an American Band" by Grand Funk Railroad. It starts
yeah.
with a drum roll that's pretty cool. There's like a cowbell that starts like dunk 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 dunk. I don't know. I could probably just play it on my phone. You'd get sued maybe, but that's one that kind of jumps to mind. Like, what's that Zeppelin song that's like, oh yeah, I can't remember the name of the song because I'm really not like a huge Zeppelin person.
Yeah.
But I mean, I there's one. I love this band called Urge Overkill.
I've heard of them too.
Yeah, they were like a 90s band.
Yeah.
And there's one song, it's called Bottle of Fur on a record called Saturation. And they had like one hit. Well, they actually had a couple hits. They had a hit called Sister Havana that if you heard, you'd be like, oh yeah, that song.
Yeah.
But then they also covered a Neil Diamond song called Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. And it's on the Pulp Fiction soundtrack. And it was like a pretty... Girl, down, 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 down. You'll be a woman soon. So, anyway, that's
Just a quick note on that. So we got involved in the Burkbuster. We got our new
right on.
Burkbuster card,
Yeah.
and we went to the Habitat Restore.
Okay.
And I found an old Blu-ray player.
Okay.
And Pulp Fiction was, I think, well, actually, it was the second movie. It was our first.
Hell
We
yeah.
rented two movies the first time from
Awesome.
Burkbuster, all excited, and that was the second one. So
Nice.
I know the cover of that.
Yeah,
song.
yeah. So they did that, but yeah, that record. If you've never heard it, it's such a great rock and roll record. And there's a song called "Bottle of Fur" that has this like awesome drum roll in it, and I love it so much. To the point where like we were working on a Big Life song on our last record, and Dan, our singer, is also like a huge fan of Urge Overkill, and like we don't sound like them at all. But I was like trying to like explain what I wanted our drummer to do, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's like this, and Dan was like, oh yeah, we got to do that, So that's one that comes to mind. But I like drumming that like plays for the purpose of the song, like I really I appreciate drummers who can totally do a million drum rolls and play really fast or are super like technically great. But some of my favorite drummers like Ringo, plays for the song, which sometimes is literally like a hi-hat, and like a couple of toms and that's it, because that's what the song needed. I really love this band called Spoon, and their drummer Jim, super creative drummer, but he also plays really simple. And again, it's like for the song, so I tend to gravitate towards like even Dave Grohl, like who's obviously like a super powerful drummer. Like the reason why Nirvana became huge, in addition to Kurt Cobain being like a great songwriter and like the sound and his voice and all these things, is because Dave's drumming, while being really powerful and him being like a technically great drummer, a lot of it is just so simple, and it's so accessible and easy to listen to that like it doesn't distract from, what's going on in music.
So staying on the thing with drums, so what is your favorite part of the drum kit to hit?
It's gotta be the snare, man. Although I had somebody tell me, who's a really good drummer, my friend Brian, who was like, you do a lot of cool stuff with the hi-hat. And I don't really think about it when I'm doing it, but I guess I do, because he noticed it,
Yeah.
And I do love the hi-hat because it's like a way to accent things without it being too in your face. Like the
Like
cymbal is
yeah.
more of like the obvious accent part of the drums. Like when you're trying to like transition from one part of the song to the next, it usually is like a cymbal hit that sort of signals the next part. But like the hi-hat can be a subtle way of like adding some cool little, percussive elements, like you can play it straight and whatever, but if you lift up on it a little bit or
Yeah.
play a little harder, open it or what, there's all these things you can do. And yeah, so maybe it's the hi-hat now that I really think about it.
Yeah.
No one's ever asked me that.
Well, there you go. So you mentioned Paul Weller, but I had a question. I was going to ask you who your musical hero is.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if it's Paul or somebody else.
It's honestly my dad,
Oh, cool.
Without my dad showing us music and teaching us music and playing music around the house and, playing in bands and things like that, I probably would not. I mean, I don't know, maybe I would, but without that, like I had the map, I had everything in front of me. I had access to instruments, he let the bands play that I started in the basement, helped Thunderbirds, immensely. My mom too, of course. But like, they helped us buy a van and got us out of some jams that we were in here and there. But just even like back to like the music part of it, like the way he plays guitar, I feel like I really like that was, how I learned to play, by watching him play and having him teach me how to play. And there's certain things he does. They're like things he does, that I do too, because he did it. And that's how he showed me how to do things, And so it's like, oh, you can play a C chord this way or this other way. And if you play it this other way, it kind of gives it like a slightly different voicing than if you play it sort of the regular way or whatever, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, that would be my first answer. And then, I mean, the list could potentially be endless, but, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, Dave Davies, Ray Davies, Paul Weller, Elvis Costello, Keith and Mick, like all the classics. I love a lot of my musical heroes. I love the Breeders. I love Kim Deal.
Yeah.
I love Juliana Hatfield. I love Liz Phair. Like female singer-songwriters from the 90s, like were very and still are very inspirational to me. But I mean, there's a band I love called Superchunk. Their singer Mac McCaughan. This band called Super Drag, which is not the same band as Superchunk, but their singer John Davis is a huge inspiration to me. I love Pete Shelley songwriting from the Buzzcocks. Jay Mascis from Dinosaur Jr. I'm a huge fan of a band called Guided by Voices. Their singer-songwriter Robert Pollard is a very big influence on me in my songwriting. Right now, like some of my musical heroes are non-rock people. I love Fela Kuti, which is this 70s African Nigerian, basically like protest singer, jazz musician kind of guy who invented this music called Afrobeat.
Okay. I think Jody mentioned Afro. There was a lot of Afrobeats
I
in
love
the house.
him, and that's something we've been listening to a lot lately. So, yeah, I have a lot of heroes.
Cool. That's always good.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't.
Ian Mackay from Fugazi.
Yeah.
The list goes on.
Yeah.
Johnny Marr.
Oh, Johnny Marr. I love Johnny Marr.
I love Peter Buck. I love R.E.M. I think Peter Buck and Michael Stipe wrote. They're like the best American band probably in the history of American music, in my opinion. Probably, maybe. So, yeah, man. Yeah, you shouldn't have asked me.
You just mentioned Johnny Marr, and I've been listening to. I've been avoiding too much Smiths because there's just I don't
the
care.
Morrissey factor.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
And Johnny Marr can surprisingly sing
Yeah.
just as well as
Yeah.
Morrissey.
I saw
when he does
Johnny
the covers,
play-
and I'm like, it's just mind blowing.
Yeah, he's great. I saw him play. He had a band called The Healers back in like the mid 2000s, maybe. They were great. You know, he's definitely like an incredible guitar player. I could
Yeah.
never play guitar like him, but I have tried before. So,
Yeah, it would give me a reason to buy a Jaguar.
totally.
I don't
He's
know.
a Rick guy too.
Zoe's not on board with any more guitars in the house.
Yeah.
But,
Okay. Well.
but the Jaguar, I don't know. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
You might be able to convince her.
I don't think so.
Let me talk to her.
Now that I had a chance to nerd out with some fun guitar and music talk, stay tuned for part 3 where we'll get into Ryan's podcast and how the universe's tenacity led him to one of our previous guests.